All right, greetings, everyone. We are live again. Dynasty Mirror Search for Uhuru. We are back to back to back tonight. After this, I am going to bed. I
Yeah, you've
hope
been going hard
all
today.
right. I hope all is well with everyone in the chat room, guys. Everyone. Okay, I shouldn't have to ask this, but as you come into the chat room, please hit the like button. Again, please hit the like button as you come into the chat room. I greatly appreciate it. It really means a lot, everyone. Again, it really means a lot. So hit that like button, share the content. Also, subscribe. If you are new to the platform, please subscribe. Tours, we are rolling to Sierra Leone in April. So if you want to roll, let me know. There's definitely going to be a citizenship ceremony around Independence Day, which is Sierra Leone Independence Day is April 27th. So there's definitely going to be a citizenship ceremony. So please, if you're interested in enrolling, let me know. Hit me up. Let me know. And you could join us. You could hop on board. In fact, guys, listen. I'm gonna preview the website. The website's not done yet. Okay, it's not done. But you guys can go ahead and snoop around. I know it's been taking forever, and the reason why, because usually I do my own websites through like Wix or Squarespace or GoDaddy, but somebody just sold me on Dynas. You got to do it WordPress. So I said, okay, let me find somebody to do it WordPress because I guess over the period of time, it's not as expensive as far as maintaining the other sites. So I took y'all advice, but it's been taking forever because I'm in the queue with other people. So um, let me share the screen real quick. So the site is Donfo. Hold on, what happened? Oh, there we go. The site is Donfo.Africa. Okay, that's the link. Donfo.Africa. You can scroll down, check it out. It's still being updated. And as far as like the itinerary, the tentative itinerary for the tour, um, let me see if he fixed this real quick. No, he still hasn't fixed that. Yeah, it's annoying. I wish I could just come in and just finish this myself because it'll be done by now. So if you go on travel, the drop down will come. Click on Sierra Leone. This will bring the tentative schedule itinerary right here. And what I did for every activity, I just linked one of the videos to it so you guys can actually see, get an idea of what we're doing. So this is it. The site is almost done. It should have been done already. I wish I could just do this myself. But yeah, there we go. There we go, you guys. There we go. So click on Donfo. Yeah, so guys, it's almost done. Thank you for being patient. Also, we're rolling to Nigeria in August as well. So if you're interested in rolling to Nigeria, let me know. We're almost done with the site. And guys, we're expanding. So we're doing Sierra Leone, Benin, Ghana, South Africa, and Namibia are coming soon. Nigeria and Senegal and Zanzibar. So it's coming along, guys. Just thank you for being patient. I wish I had an excuse, but I don't. Why it's taking so long? But that's that. So we have a special guest on with us tonight. Our
Dinus,
sister
that looks
Ashley.
great. Your
Oh,
website
thank you.
is phenomenal.
I wish it was done though. It's just taking too long. It's taking too long. But guys, we have a special guest on with us tonight. Sister Ashley in Africa is on with us, and we're going to be discussing our African American women leading this renaissance as far as relocating back to the continent. Shout out to my brother Fitzgerald Stevens. Fitzgerald, I got to give you a call back. In fact, Fitzgerald, if you want to join the chat here in about 30 minutes, we'll open up the lines. Fitzgerald, you could join the
Oh,
conversation,
okay.
Fitzgerald, my brother. I apologize, Fitzgerald, for not calling you back. I'm being a bad brother, Fitzgerald. I'm sorry. Shout out to my brother, Fitzgerald Stevens, everybody. Without further ado, Miss Ashley in Africa, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. Hello to the In Search for Uhuru audience. Thank you, Dinus, for having me on your platform. I've been following your journey for a while, so it's such an honor to share this space with you tonight. My name is Ashley in Africa. On my channel, I talk about living, moving, and doing business on the continent of Africa. Specifically, my experience is in relation to Tanzania and South Africa. I spent about a year in Tanzania and about 6 weeks in South Africa, and I'm preparing to completely relocate my family to South Africa. During my time there, I was able to, start a business or two, build and develop community, and wanted to really give back because I had got so much inspiration, information, and research from fellow creators like Dynast, and wanted to, just return the favor. So thank you again for having me. I look forward to this conversation.
And guys, what we'll do, we'll open up the lines here in about 30 minutes, but make sure you hit that like button. You too, Fitzgerald. Fitzgerald, make sure you hit that like button. Okay, Fitzgerald Stevens, hit that like button. All right, so let's get some background because I mean
Yeah,
you're new here. A lot of people
I'm
don't.
new.
Well, I'm sure. I don't know. I'm sure it's a couple people in the chat room said they're subscribed to your page, but
I'm pretty new. Yeah, it's been
okay,
less than 3 months since I've been on
okay,
YouTube. Yeah,
okay. So let's get some background information, like where you from,
yeah.
your
Okay.
social security number, your credit score.
So I was born in Boston, Boston, Massachusetts. I spent 10 years there before my mom moved us, my sister, and my younger sister to Florida. So we spent some time in Tampa. I did my high school in Miami and stayed in Florida, did in state at Florida State University. I started working in the entertainment industry pretty
If I can interject real quick, where'd you? What years were you at Florida State?
2002 to 2006.
All right. Did you know Travis Johnson, Brian McFadden?
Yes.
Uh, okay. Yeah, I play. We grew. We all like me. We all kind of grew up. Not grew up together, but we
Like they played
all together.
football, right?
Yeah, I played football at UGA, and so we
Yeah,
were all
okay.
like high school All Americans. So we would do all
Yeah.
like the like when they would call us like for like the ceremonies and all that. We were always together, and then recruiting visits, and then Travis threw the shot put at Notre Dame in Sherman Oaks, and I ran track in Northern California. So we would see each other at track meets
Oh,
and
okay, dope. Yep.
stuff
I
like
mean,
that.
I
Yeah.
actually worked in the recruiting department at Florida State when I was in college, which
Were you a Florida State girl,
I
Seminole girl?
was. I was a golden.
So okay, so when we came on the visits, you had to okay, yeah. We had
Yeah,
the
we
Georgia
came,
girls at
came on the
UGA.
visits. We used to have to entertain y'all
Yeah,
in
yeah,
the daytime at the stadium. Yep.
and
Um,
after.
no, not after. That was against the rules. I know some girls did it. Wasn't my thing. I'm just being honest. And you can ask them; they'll tell you if they remember me. I wasn't, doing those things then. I actually started a street team when I was in high school. So I was working with Def Jam Records, like at 17 years old in Miami. So
Mhm.
most of the weekends I was traveling out of
Okay,
town to work and do parties and stuff like that. So I wasn't checking for, the football players at the time, but
okay,
Florida State was great. Spent some time there, got educated in marketing and economics. And I lived really all over the US after that. I took a job in St. Louis, spent some time in Atlanta. Really, most of my time professionally was in Atlanta, moved back to Miami for some work, moved to New
hmm
York for some work. So I lived pretty much on the East Coast of the US for most of my professional career. And Atlanta, probably 13, 14 years off and on.
okay. Now I'm
Yep.
still here. I'm still in Atlanta. I'm back in Atlanta. What part of Atlanta did you stay in when you were here in Atlanta?
I lived in Inman Park
Okay.
and Midtown and in
Okay.
Brookhaven.
Okay. So you was in Atlanta. So have you heard this new song, the Not Atlanta song?
Yes,
Listen, I'm gonna tell you a funny story. So back when I was in college, I almost got into like a fight with somebody on the football team because they were like, I'm from Atlanta. I'm like, where'd you go to high school? They said Stevenson. I'm like, that's Stone Mountain. You're not from Atlanta. And they got offended. Like they got offended.
yeah, they
But I'm
serious.
so happy this song is out because this song is like 20, 25 years too late. This song should have been out. Like, you're not from Atlanta. It's okay though. Like, claim Stone Mountain. Be happy with Stone Mountain. Be happy with Conyers.
So,
Like,
are
be
you from
happy.
Atlanta?
No,
Like,
I'm
are you?
not. I'm not from
Okay.
Atlanta. I'm from Cali.
Oh,
I'm a
okay.
transplant. But like, I'm from Sacramento. Like, you from Sacramento, you from Sacramento. You from
Right.
like a suburb, Elk Grove. You from Elk Grove. You not from Sacramento. But Atlanta's the only place where folks be, I'm from Atlanta. Where'd you go to high
Yeah,
school?
they don't play.
Conyers. Like, that's not Atlanta. When they get upset. Yeah.
They don't play about that. When I was on your show last week, one of the dudes was like, "Oh, you sound like a transplant." I'm not claiming to be from Atlanta, but I
Yeah, I'm not
lived
saying
in
either.
Atlanta for
Right.
more longer than I've lived anywhere else.
Hmm.
So so I get it. But yeah, I heard the song and people
I
are in their
love it.
feelings.
I love it. I love the song. We might
Yeah.
even play it. I love it. It's been needed for so long. I absolutely love the song. I love it. And I'm a transplant too. I came back to Atlanta because the real estate was cheap. So at the time, it's expensive as hell now, but I
Yes,
got
it is.
in before it got expensive. So
Yes, it is, and it's been an interesting experience being in Atlanta. So when I was there, I worked with the Metro Atlanta Chamber of Commerce on an initiative called Choose ATL, and their
mhm.
goal was to attract and retain top technical talent because they were trying to attract these technical organizations, these high tech organizations like we see now, Google, Twitter. I worked on the Amazon HQ2 bid, and that was really when things started to bubble for me. When I started to sit in these
I
rooms
got
with,
questions, but keep
okay,
keep going. I don't want to interject. But I got questions
yeah,
now. Atlanta.
yeah,
I know we're talking about Africa, but I got Atlanta questions now. But keep
let's
going.
do
Keep going.
it because
But keep going.
it relates
Uh,
to the decision, right? So
Okay.
that's when I started to really see the data that that was showing the wealth gap, the disparities between um, Black Atlanta and white Atlanta, and how it was geographically set up. Um, and yeah, it was stark, and that was when my wheels started to begin spinning. Because prior to that, I was for Atlanta. Never thought I would leave Atlanta. The price, the cost of living was great. It was good. Like I was good there, and that experience really began me walking down this line of discovery for new opportunities and what actions we really needed to take as a people or really individually to shift what was likely to happen based on the data that they were presenting.
What's up? I had to switch mics. Can you hear me clearly
Yeah, I can
or?
hear you. Yeah,
Perfect. Let me just change this. So, all right. So, first question:
yeah.
Did you find any value in the Metro Atlanta Chamber of Commerce? Was there any value in that? Because I've heard mixed reviews, just and not just dealing with Atlanta, but Chamber of Commerces in general.
Right. Well, in relation to what? Because I worked there.
Okay, just for business opportunities, networking.
So ironically, while I was there, so at the time it was like they were celebrating 150 years. So it's probably like a 154-year organization. And the CEO at the time was the first female CEO in that 150 years. She's no longer there, but she stepped down for another woman who is now the CEO. It was incredibly white. The leadership was white, the membership was white, and they had a very specific credential to who they wanted on the board, who they wanted in executive positions, and who they wanted to attract. And so, one of the initiatives that I created was an influencer group, and also a creative board. Because prior to that, they weren't even having conversations with music industry executives, videographers, photographers, fashion designers, stylists. Like they weren't even having those conversations. So that was one of the initiatives that I created, because really for our generation, we don't necessarily need chambers. We can go on, YouTube, find an email, LinkedIn, connect directly with executives. And so their business model really was non-sustainable. The memberships were declining. People weren't buying into the process. So we had to create programming that would bring, conversations or bring people to the table. I will say that fast forward currently, there are maybe double the amount of Black leadership that was there when I was there. All of the people that were in this program that I created are still relatively engaged. Some of them have even become board members. So today it looks very different than it did when I was there. And I think there may be value, but personally, if it comes to networking and opportunities like that, I'm a member and a fan of the Gathering Spot. I think what they're doing is,
I was a member of the Gathering Spot at one time. They were so like political, which is
mhm,
cool,
mhm.
but it was a
And so is
little.
the chamber. Like, let's be clear, they connect corporations to current government. So whoever is in the mayoral state government seats, that's where they're connecting corporations to. So very much the same. I think the difference with the Gathering Spot is it's, Black owned, Black leadership. I think that's a whole nother conversation. But again, it looks different. I don't really know what they're doing over there now. I know that when I was there, it was super toxic work environment. Um, I wasn't necessarily I wasn't necessarily like advertising it for people to come and spend $10,000 a year as members, because that was like the minimum
ten
membership
thousand a
requirement.
year. Ten
It was like
thousand a year.
10,000 a year for a small business at the minimum. Yeah. So again, I don't know what they're doing now. I know they've got some new leadership in place. I know that they've done some work, and as things have changed in these last couple years, they've adopted different practices and started working through some things. But yeah,
But the Gathering Spot was a cool spot though. I mean, I used to go for the free breakfast because part of the membership you get free breakfast. So I was
yep,
there every morning eating good for
yep,
the free breakfast. But the Gathering Spot was a cool spot. It's just and then also too, when I was there, it was right after, like, kind of during COVID, so like the live events weren't going on.
okay,
So I don't know if they kicked it back off yet, but I would consider um, joining and getting another membership. But I enjoy kind of just doing my thing in my house and then traveling.
yeah. I
So
mean, I think there's value in it. I was one of the founding members there, and they were really building community. There were a couple other workspaces, co-working spaces that were engaged with the chamber at the time while I was there, but they did not have the type of community and revenue that the Gathering Spot had. And so one of my goals was really to like integrate Black leadership, Black talent into the chamber at the time. And they were one that I really, really went hard for. And we ended up working together um, during South by Southwest. I want to say that was like 2018, 2017, where they announced that they would be opening their second location in DC. One of their main investors, who was TI, announced it with them, performed a concert. It was the biggest attended event at South by Southwest that year. So, like they're doing some great things. They've got some great investors. They've got some great programming. Um, you know,
yeah, I know they got the spot in LA. They're in
mhm,
DC now.
mhm.
And here in Atlanta. Yes, free breakfast all day. I like my unje
Yes.
aro all day. I like my unje aro. Okay, unje aro. That's what I eat. I love it all day. So Again, I'm not shy. I like to eat. All right, so
And the
you
events,
know
yeah,
that.
the events are great. And
But
they've
like I
also
said,
purchased
like I
A3C.
said, right. But like I said, when I was there, they stopped. They didn't have the live events because of COVID. So hopefully,
Yeah.
like I said, I'm gonna take a look at because it was cool. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So and
I
then
mean,
another.
I
Go
think you
ahead.
could really add some value, honestly. Like that was one of the things that while I was there, I was thinking about engaging with them really specifically on this Africa conversation because I had, like relationships in that space, but also like my goal is always to connect Black talent to the opportunity. And I personally, in this position today, feel like Africa is an opportunity, and so much talent is just unaware of that. So much Black talent is unaware. And so I think what you're doing, especially with your track record, I mean, I'm new to this. I'm less than, 2 years in. But the conversation, the value that you could add to a community like the Gathering Spot is a lot. So I would totally think about engaging.
Then my next question, and we're gonna get into Africa, guys. It's just she brought up Atlanta, and I got questions. So I got two more ATL questions. All right, what happened to the Amazon headquarters? Because it was supposed to be right, not too far from where I live. So what happened with that? You
Yeah.
said you was involved with it, so.
So I was involved in that process, and I think it was interesting. I think Amazon has so much data. I think they already knew where they were going. But I think them putting out that public RFP was really to see how much uh, municipalities would be willing to give them to go where they really wanted to go to create this bidding war for Amazon. And yeah, I think they already knew, but they wanted to see where they were going to get the best bang for their buck. And I know one of the biggest issues that Atlanta had at the time was a lack of highly technical skilled talent. And so Amazon, obviously, that's the level of talent that they require. And many companies were saying that, whether it's true or not. Um,
Georgia Tech is here.
Absolutely. Georgia Tech is the number one producer of highly technical talent, really in the country, but they're getting jobs. They were pre COVID getting jobs on the West Coast, right? Because they were getting that, $250,000 job right out of college because Silicon Valley could afford to pay them that, where UPS, Coca Cola, um, Porsche, like all these other companies they were in need of that level of talent, but they were taking jobs and going out to the West Coast to get those higher pay roles. So I think that was the biggest problem, was that they were saying they didn't have the talent. And keep in mind, like they were having conversations. We had to pull in the CEOs of organizations. So, the Ed Bastian, CEO of Delta, the CEO of Cox, the CEO of UPS. These are old white men, so they're disconnected to what that funnel looks like. And, when they would talk about the schools, they would rarely ever mention Clark Atlanta, Spelman College, Morehouse College. Like they wouldn't even mention those. They would go straight to Georgia Tech, then they would go to UGA, then they would go to Georgia State. Um, and we had to, that was a process because the leadership was not reflective of that group of talent. So I think the talent was a big issue. I think that is really what led it, but also I think they knew where they wanted to go, and being closer to the country capital was really ultimately their objective.
Huh. Guys, please hit that like button. Again, please hit the like button. Ashley's giving her child the mama eyes. I know them eyes. Yeah. So, guys, hit that like button again. Please hit the like button. Okay, then the last question, Ashley. So, you brought up the wealth gap here in Atlanta, and Atlanta has this. I guess I'll call it a facade in regards
Mhm.
to being the black mecca. So, with your statistics, do you think Atlanta is really the black mecca? That's what Atlanta's known for. But do you really think Atlanta? I think the DMV area is probably more of a black mecca than Atlanta. But what are your thoughts on that?
Um, I mean, I have a very soft place in my heart for Atlanta. Atlanta is a city where you can really make impact. You can get close to power in Atlanta. Is not hard. Um, good or bad. I think the diversity of talent is in Atlanta. So the technical talent, lawyers, physicians, creators. Um, I think that the concentration of Black people from the South and like it being a prime destination for migration from people from all over the South makes it, just a great place to be. Or I used to feel that way, right? Like I don't necessarily feel that way today. Um, yeah, I just don't feel that way today. I think because again of its proximity to like so many different cities in the South, like it's just gotten out of control. But the gentrification is happening. It is so real. Um,
Happening. It's already happened.
yeah, it's happening. Like it's real, and I think a lot of it is because they are attracting and bringing in these technical companies. People are getting paid more. Because I mean, always to live in DC, like DMV area, you always had to be pretty high income earning. You were working on the hill. You were making a good amount of money. In Atlanta, you didn't really need that level of money to live well. And now it's just not the case.
It's changed. It's changed.
Yeah.
I remember when I first came to Atlanta, like when I moved to Atlanta in after I graduated from University of Georgia in 2005 or 2006, I came to Atlanta. Like from 2006 to like 2013, you could live comfortable in Atlanta for like $50,000 a year.
Mhm.
Then it just changed now. Like you better be making at least six figures to live comfortable because the houses, like even like on the south side, I remember like on the south side, like College Park, Riverdale, this the south side, even the east side, houses were dirt cheap. But now to get a decent house, Forest Park, Morrow, Clayco, like almost $300,000. That was
Yeah.
unheard of.
Yeah. It is going up.
And it's going up.
Yeah.
All right,
It's
so
going
we're gonna jump into Africa now. So,
Yeah.
all right, so Africa, like what happened? Like why? What made you consider it? Like
Yeah.
what was the life event? Like what happened? Like
Yes,
something
because
had to
there's
happen.
always a life event, right? There's always a life event. I mean, so it was really, like the collision of, um, this world health experience that we're going through and George Floyd. It was that moment in history where I was just like, oh nah, like this can't be it. We're, continuing to like fight this fight that's just not it. And, Breonna Taylor, like I have a 10-year-old daughter. She was 8 at the time. And I just did not want her to even ask me about Breonna Taylor. I couldn't even fix myself to tell her who she was. And I didn't want to have to. And so really that was the life event, that made me say, okay, like it's Africa. At the same time, I had a girlfriend who is also, she's a creator. She's an editor, one of the best in the world. And she was documenting her experience in Jamaica. And so I was really thinking Jamaica. I've traveled prior to Africa, maybe about 15 countries.
Like girlfriend or girlfriend? Like what? Like
No, like my friend who's
oh,
a girl. No, my home girl, my friend who's a woman. Yes. Um, she she was documenting her journey. And so originally I was just going to take a break and go to Jamaica. And she was in Jamaica and she was documenting her experience. So I hit her up. And at the time we weren't that close. We had worked together And so I just hit her up through Instagram and was like, hey, like, how is it over there? What's going on over there? And she was like, yeah, it's cool, but we're actually going to the Gambia. And so she was planning to go to the Gambia. And I was like, the where? Like, where's that? She's like, well, we can't go right now. The borders are closed. We're going to Tanzania. And I was like, Tanzania, where's that? And so, honestly and ignorantly, I had Africa just really wasn't on my radar that way. I mean, Cape Town, which is really the only city that's marketed as a luxury destination in Africa, I was familiar with, and it was on my bucket list. But I didn't really think about Africa as a space to visit. I was thinking more so Caribbean, Black people, a slower life. But it was really her sharing her story on social media that got me interested in asking the question. And she had been to two countries at the time, Jamaica and Cuba. And so she moved with her husband, and her son, like that. And I was like, well, if she can do this, then I surely can do this. And yeah, that was the decision. Probably around June, I made the decision in 2020, and we moved in October.
Okay. So how's the experience been in Africa with your? So you went to Tanzania, or did you go to South Africa
I
first?
went to Tanzania first.
Okay.
So I went to Tanzania first. I really had a beautiful experience. I did a ton of research. Research is just what I do professionally, and I love research. So immediately I was online, YouTube, um, the State Department, researching really everything. What did I need to know? The good, bad, and the ugly. Um,
Hey,
and
I wouldn't believe anything coming from the State Department on Africa.
correct, right? But like, just when I traveled before, it was always like, okay, let me register my passport, with them. And that's just what I had always done. And yeah, I had a beautiful experience. I mean, I was connected with a woman through one of the groups, and she helped me find a house. I only looked at one house, stayed in a hotel for a week with my family, and got the house in a week. And we were in this beautiful home in like a suburb of Dar es Salaam. It was great. My kids were enrolled in school probably about 2 weeks later. Um, it was a great experience. I loved it. Probably after about 7 months or 8 months, that's when I started to try to figure out what I could do professionally. I attended a couple of events with the Chamber of Commerce out there, which is also just a totally different experience because they also have like a American to Tanzanian chamber. They have what is the guy called? Like a I forgot what they're called. Like
Sister.
no,
Um,
they're like government officials in that country. So a U.S. ambassador.
Ambassadors. All right. Okay.
Ambassador.
Ambassadors.
So there was a brand new U.S. ambassador appointed by Donald Trump, like pretty much the same month that we arrived. So he had like this big dinner at his house, and it was nice. It was nice. And it was just an opportunity to connect with different people. So I started to like network pretty early on. And yeah, I had a beautiful experience. It was great. I definitely started to miss some of the luxuries, the modern luxuries. I went over to Zanzibar, loved it. Um, but I just, I was like, I like this place, but there were a few things missing that I felt like at this point in my life, I didn't want to give up. So then I took a discovery trip after that to South Africa.
all right. So this comment: more professional sisters like Miss Ashley wanting to leave America is a sign that a Black America is dying. What are your thoughts on that comment?
Yeah, I mean, I share his sentiment. Shout out to West Coast, WM West Coast 1980. Yeah, I mean, I've heard a bunch of different scenarios, like it's, Black people who can't make it in America go to Africa. I mean, that that wasn't my experience. And I wouldn't even necessarily say it's, I met some beautiful, like super talented, intellectual Black women from all over the diaspora that were in Tanzania while I was there. And yeah, I mean, in communities, a lot of the communities that I'm in, Black women travelers or expats, they're professional women. They're women that got to the top of their career, their mothers, their wives. They are just like, this ain't it. Like, we have a privilege of this passport. We're not going to sit in a society that continues to show us that they don't honor us and aren't willing to treat us sacredly. And so, yeah, I mean, that's that on that.
So how was your experience in South Africa?
Yeah, my experience in South Africa was great. It was great. I absolutely loved it. I went there solo. I traveled there with the Real South Africa. Um, I wanted a very seamless experience. I wanted to do specific things, and I knew that they could support that. Um, so it was great. I spent time in Johannesburg. I spent time in Durban. I knew that I wanted to financially engage in South Africa. I know, about their stock exchange there. The rand is the only African currency, I believe, that's world traded. And that was important. So I recognized, okay, like this is the financial hub of the continent. And professionally, if I want to engage in this continent in a place that feels comfortable, like being a solo traveler at the time, like this is where I want to go. And it blew my expectations away. A lot of people were like, oh, don't go there. It's not safe, especially like my friends in Tanzania, because Tanzania is, quite frankly, one of the safest countries on the continent, probably in the world. But I didn't have any negative experience. I didn't, and not to say that they don't happen, but I went to all the places they said, oh, you shouldn't go there. I went and had a great time, met some great people. I started a business in South Africa, so we're importing coffee beans. I'm hoping to set up some manufacturing there. It was a easy transition. Cost of living is great. The beaches in Durban, fantastic. The food, incredible. I'm actually studying the South African Constitution right now, just for my own understanding. And yeah, just like their Bill of Rights and how they have a mutual respect for different ethnicities, different religions, the languages, the native languages, and they're actually positioned as national languages. Like it's just super dope for me. I love it. I could go on and on.
Guys, hit that like button again. Please hit the like button. So when you went to Tanzania and South Africa, did you bring your kids or no?
I did. Yeah. I didn't take them with me to South Africa. No.
Okay, but you did. How was that? How long were you in Tanzania when you brought your kids? How long?
So all of us were together for a year in Tanzania. And then while I was in South Africa, they were in Tanzania.
Okay, okay. Now, so because I see a lot of now, are you married or are you single or
No, I am not married.
are you single?
I am very private about that.
Okay.
But yeah, at the time I was there solo. So I did have my mom there. My mom came with us. My mom is not there anymore. She's back in the States. Um, yeah.
Okay, because I noticed like a lot of women who are moving to the continent are single mothers and they're bringing their kids with them. How
Mhm.
is that? Like, how's that process explaining it to the
Mhm.
father? Because I can see a lot of women are able to do it, but like with the men, like I can't,
Mhm.
I can't. I'm not because yeah, my mom, the mother of my child, and the court system, man,
Yeah.
I can't. Yeah, so I can't do it. But
Yeah.
I notice the
It's
men are more flexible to the women, but the women aren't as flexible to the men. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I can't speak from your perspective, right? From the male perspective, only from my perspective, because it's very complicated. It's very complicated. I don't think any one woman situation is similar. Um, for me, it's definitely a point of conflict. Their dad initially thought it was cool that they were having the experience, but then it really became like, oh wait, like I don't have the access that I probably should have created, because really there wasn't a level of consistency there prior to us going. So there was an opportunity like, hey, like let's get some of these things in motion. And so probably 2017, I had already started laying groundwork of living abroad. Um, and I was with their dad. And, he has a business, he could work from anywhere. But I think when you get closer to that, to like making a decision on that conversation, people switch it up, people change. And so,
Yeah, they get cold feet. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, the fruit is is very visible. My girls, we speak Kiswahili. My oldest speaks French. Um, my oldest tested up and skipped a grade. She has friends from all over the world. Like, it's very clear what that 1 year did for her and how it set her ahead. And I think it's just a process that might take some time for him to understand and come to grips with. I think it's very important, as Black men, to like stay on top of your finances, pay your taxes. Unfortunately, if you've been put in a situation of child support, like stay on top of your finances so that your ability to travel the world is not restricted. Um, I definitely thought that he would make some trips there, but because of just like some decisions that were made, like he wasn't really able to do that. And so I think that had a lot to do with the conflict now. He's not able to move as freely. And and we are. And so international business has always been something that I've wanted to do. Being a diplomat is like my dream. Um, well, it was. I don't really know if it still is. It just depends on like the leadership. But yeah, it's something that I've always wanted to do. And so when I decided to make those decisions for a family, like that was it.
Yeah. So somebody in the chat room mentioned, and they have a great point. They said, hold on, damn, where's the comment? Where's the comment? Where's the comment? Hold on, let me find it. They mentioned like just taxes and Black business owners. Like, what do you? I just taxes ain't fair. But what are your thoughts, just when it
Get
comes?
you an accountant, like get you a good accountant, and even yourself, like start studying and learning like some basic tax laws. Um, you know, that's really it. Like I get it. I had I went through a experience early on in my career, um, where I, got audited and had to owe back taxes. That was really that taught me like, okay, no, we gonna pay these taxes every year. And sometimes that's what it takes. But the better the accountant, sometimes they cost more, but then you can figure out how to like, shift those taxes. I think also having your business abroad, you save a lot of money in taxes. So figuring that out, like
Mhm.
figuring out what that looks like, basing your business abroad will get you out of a lot of the tax liabilities that you have as an American. You still have to file your taxes as an American as long as you're a citizen and you don't renounce your citizenship. But yeah, paying taxes as a business owner, it's a hassle. And the more money you make, obviously, the more you got to pay.
All right, guys, hit the like button again. Please hit that like button. So a lot of people are asking, like, what do you? And then after this question, guys, we'll open up the lines. How are you able to sustain yourself in Africa? Like, what do you do? I know you have like a course on where you 6, 7 figure. Go ahead and you can go ahead and dive into that.
So while I was there the first time, I was taking an annuity payment on some insurance. So quite frankly, I was working in a tech company, a startup company, burnt the hell out. Like I was so burnt out. I was able to file a disability claim. And I had short-term disability, a private policy that I bought when I was like 29 years old, and that it paid me for a year. And so I was able to live off of those payments, and it was lovely. Like, and save. So I actually saved about $20,000 while I was in Tanzania and was investing, putting that into the market. And so the the earnings from what I was getting has really sustained me. Going back now, this time, I am likely going to I'm likely going to get a remote job, something that's light, something that I can do easily with my eyes closed, that's going to pay me close to where I was before leaving the workforce. But yeah, I definitely recommend having some type of income. But if you are, I like to work with professionals now. So now that I'm not in Africa currently, my long term game is to build our coffee business and to build a talent development agency where we're supporting Africans on the continent to get skills like customer service, um, sales techniques, marketing, and different things like that. Ultimately, if they want to be coffee business owners, juice bar owners, we're creating curriculum around that. But most of these skills are transferable in any line of work. So ultimately, that's my long term. But you know, there are so many women, so many families, so many people that hit me up from like jobs that I used to work, and they're just like, "How did you do that? I can't believe you did that." And I know for me, it's not working with people that are just emotionally tired of America. I get that, but you've got to have some income. You've got to have like some type of cushion, some type of savings, you know, some type of savings practices in place to go over to the continent with yourself or even just a family. So those are the people that I like to work with. And yeah, that's what I'm doing also.
Hmm. So did you completely kind of disconnect yourself from America? Meaning, like, did you own any real estate? You sold it all? Like,
I sold everything. Sold my car. Well, really, all my stuff was in my business name. So I owned my homes in my business, my cars in my business. So it was nothing for me to drop those off and buy a new business that had some traction. So yeah, I completely in 2020 completely divested from the US. And when I came back this last time, it was to set up importing here. But I realized like I really just want to focus on intercontinental trade on the continent of Africa. Importing through the US is just there's just so much bureaucracy, and the opportunity is really on the continent for me. So now, we're working on finalizing our visa, our long-term visa for South Africa.
so everyone, I put the link in the chat room. Again, links in the chat room. You guys are talking a lot in the chat room, so don't be shy. Click on the link. We'll take a couple callers. Click on the link, and you are more than welcome to join the conversation. Again, click on the link, and you are uh, more than welcome to join the conversation. I want to hop on the call line, but man, I don't want to be recorded. Oh, God. Okay, whatever. All right, click on the link, and you're more than welcome to join the conversation. So when are you heading? Oh, so once you get your visa stuff. So let me ask you, why? So you're taking care of your visa stuff here in America, but not South Africa. Do you think it'll be easier to take care of it in South Africa versus here?
So they require you to do it in your home country unless you have certain situations going on. Um, Originally, my plan was to do it there, but we had some time. So we're doing it here. But yeah,
So
I think,
South Africa.
yeah,
So Tanzania, South Africa. Don't sleep on Namibia either. Namibia is nice.
yeah, I definitely want to go. I want to go, I want to experience the entire continent. There is nowhere that I don't want to visit. I got to, spent a short time in Ethiopia for just like understanding the coffee culture there. But yeah, that's my focus is traveling the continent for sure. And having, I mean, I know it's not the same, but I've lived in a couple states here in the US. So yes, it is different traveling country to country in Africa. It's not that easy. But to me, I mean, yeah, like it's not as scary as it seems to be for many people. But yeah, Namibia, I'm excited. I want to go to Mozambique, like
Mhm.
everywhere. There's nowhere that I don't want to go.
And don't sleep on West Africa either. I'm a West Africa cat. You got to come to West Africa.
I mean, I want to go everywhere. I want to go everywhere. The only thing I was told, like certain parts of West Africa, you have to go with good company, So that's what I'm waiting for.
All right, too, Nigel, go ahead.
Hi, yeah, thanks for coming in and giving me the opportunity to ask a few questions. I just wanted to have an idea what kind of startup you were involved in, and you mentioned something about an insurance that gave you income for 1 year when you went to the continent. I'm a bit curious about that. I don't know if you can shed light on it because I've never
Yeah.
heard that before. I've heard of sabbatical, but I've never heard that somebody can just go off and get paid.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't, I didn't get paid to go there, but that's kind of how it felt. So you just like having life insurance, a private policy away from your job, you can buy disability insurance. And typically you buy it based on what you're making at the time. And they'll pay you a percentage of that income in the event that you become disabled. And
Okay.
so I was technically disabled. I mean, I burnt out at my job. I was extremely stressed out, extremely depressed, anxious. I was working at a tech startup. I was, also getting my data science certification. So I was about like 80 hours a week. And then I had a freaking
Wow.
a baby, like a toddler. I was just doing the most. Um, which I think a lot of professional Black women like get to that point, go through that, and they do other things, like cope with other things. And when I went to the doctor, they were like, yeah, you need some medication, you need this, that, and the third. And there was another woman there who was a vice president of Boston Consulting Group, and she was also a lieutenant in the reserve, Army Reserve. And she was like, girl, do you have disability insurance? And I was like, yeah. She said, you need to file a claim. And her telling me that, I went through the process and procedures of filing it. It was about a 90-day waiting period, which means had to wait 90 days until I was paid. And as long as I stayed in therapy, I was able to get that income for about a year.
Oh, that's quite neat. I think it's good for people to know that. So
Absolutely.
so the tech startup was involved in data science.
So the tech startup was, they didn't know what they were doing, honestly. They were, they were it was their second startup. So the original company had hit $1 billion in valuation, and so they had a bunch of venture capitalists throwing money at them. So they started this new company that was supposed to connect small businesses and their customers, but they really didn't have, an MVP or like a valuable proposition that they stood on. And so we were just constantly being told to do this. Now, okay, no, we're not going to do this. We're going to do this. And every day it was a different story.
Mm,
And then also I was hired at an executive level, but then I was basically being micromanaged down to having to submit updates 5 or 6 times a day. And it was just it was gross. And
mm,
I thought it was my, yeah, I like separately was studying for my data science certification because it's what just an added skill that I felt like I needed to have just
Yeah.
to compete in the
Mm.
industry. But yeah, they were separate.
Okay. Thank you for the answers. The
Yeah.
final one is for South Africa. You mentioned something about when you went to South Africa, and you seem to, um, feel comfortable there, and studying the constitution and stuff like that. Um, did you notice any sense of that did the society there reflect the kind of society you have in the US, with the black population generally, or less well off? And how did that come across to you? Because from the way you describe it, you seem very comfortable with the environment.
Yeah, I personally was very comfortable, but I did see the disparities. I recognize the privilege of coming to a country like South Africa as a Black American. And so I didn't really experience any issues personally one on one. But I do recognize, that parts of South Africa are very segregated. Poverty is definitely real and exists there. Um, but I think in part of what is currently happening there, and Johannesburg specifically felt like a Black Mecca. I just saw so many, you know, well-to-do Black South Africans there, and it felt very similar in some ways to
Mm,
Atlanta. It was a little scary too at first. It was definitely a culture shock coming from Tanzania because I was like, oh, this is a lot. Like I feel like I'm back in the West. Um,
mm,
but there's no place is perfect, right? But for what I want to do professionally, the type of impact that I want to create, the type of education that I want to provide to my daughters, South Africa just felt very familiar, very comfortable, and like a launch pad for the continent.
mm. I think I take your point. I guess this is where my comment comes in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, you see, the thing is, in the US, you have this. I can understand where you're coming from, because even in the US, you did quite well. Going into startups that where they have money sloshing all over the place, you must be doing well there. So, but if you look at South Africa, is quite similar to the US, and you can argue that it's even worse because the black population is majority there. And I get that Johannesburg, they have a lot of well-to-do black people there, but in terms of the control of any of these industries, it, at least from the data, doesn't show that the black population is in control of it. So it means that you after leaving the US, you go to another country that is similar to the US, and that is something that I think you want to understand. And if there is something you can do,
And if you're not, if I can interject real quick, I think you're leading to Black Star Generation's super chat question. I guess to each their own, but I never quite get it when African Americans leave America to reside in South Africa. So keep going.
yeah, that's quite interesting. Because if I was in South Africa today, I have conversation with South Africans all the time, and when we're having some of these conversations, it tends to be a kind of tit for they are kind of having arguments with other people on the panel, and they say things like they use statistics to talk about how South Africa is doing well. And we're like, but that statistic you are referring to is 70% of it belongs to about 7% of the population. It's not for you. So, and but that what I'm concerned about is you, my people doing well in that country. So, I guess I maybe I did say that was my last question. I have one more. Sorry. Um.
Can I address that one though?
Okay,
You
go
mind?
ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I think what you're saying is absolutely true. I'm, in community with several South Africans that, when they hear me speak so highly of it, they're like, but there's this problem. And you just addressed it. 70% of people are controlled by 7%, right? Well, those numbers have changed in the last just 3 years. So it used to be 80%. So those those balances are changing. It is taking time, but they have the infrastructure in place to slowly make those changes and actually take action on those changes. And I know last year there was a huge, uproar, and the white South Africans, feeling discriminated against because they were losing their land, like, to the
Mm.
righteous South Africans. And yes, like, that's what's happening. That's what's supposed to happen. Y'all got this land unlawfully, and so it's being taken from you. So that data is shifting. It is taking time, but I think what is happening that's helping that is the fact that there's certain infrastructures in place. And I know on this channel you guys talk a lot about some of the fundamental challenges in Africa, and they exist. And South Africa is definitely not perfect, but the history has shown that they are willing to come against the government. They are willing to speak up, because actually the Constitution allows it. And so, again, like, nothing is perfect, but in the slow time that I've been just doing my research of South Africa, these things are changing, and they're not happening overnight, but they're definitely happening.
Exactly. See, that is what I always say to those speakers. Because even in the US, you can say there's a lot of progress happening. There's a lot of progress happening in the US too. But the real dials. No, did you just shake your head?
Well, I'm just saying, I'm biased, right? Because
Yeah.
I'm biased, but I get it. It's a very
Mm,
familiar feeling of, like, oh, you're here, so we're saying, like, oh, there's progress. I mean, if people were being brutally, like, shot down in the streets in South Africa, like, they would not go for that. Like, they just wouldn't go for it. Where it's just happening here, and it's just, so I don't know. I don't necessarily see that level of progress. And they're betting, like, the corporate structure is betting that the Black population in America will have a zero net worth in the next 30 years. So, like, that is on the table here. And that's not
mm.
necessarily what's happening on that continent.
Okay. I take your point there, and I don't want this to turn to a debate about the woes of. I just thought I should highlight it as a cautionary stuff because, in
Yes.
my mind, from where I sit, the dial hasn't really moved. The strategic
Mhm.
industries are controlled by those elites that are not the majority groups, and same is in America, and same is on the continent. So
T
that
Nigel,
for the
we
last,
got another caller. We have
yeah,
another caller
sorry,
too, T
sorry, I
Nigel.
think I've
So
hogged the mic too long. Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Tunisia.
anyway,
Yeah.
go ahead, Doctor K Simp. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So I wanna speak up for the poor Africans out here because I have a question to the diasporans. Is why is it that diasporans paint the West is so bad when really in Africa we're suffering? Most of us don't have work, don't have food. Okay, some of us have food, but the point is here is we're all suffering from different problems. The problems the average African is suffering from is lack of economic. I think I'm echoing.
Oh, let me meet my hold on.
Okay. Yeah, so some of the problems that we suffer from is, being able to amass enough wealth. We don't have freedom, so meaning we don't have passports that can access the rest of the world. Sure, I get that their diasporans have issues with racism and other stuff, but why is that usually portrayed and packaged in a way that this is the most important thing? I've seen YouTubers, certain, I won't mention their names, but mention that the UK is so bad, and the reality is, average African leaving Africa, their mindset is just getting money and empowering their life. So why can't we have a more kind of truthful conversation about the things? If you reach a certain spiritual understanding, I get the point where okay, you no longer want to live in this environment where your spirit is being overturned at every point, which is why I moved out from the UK. But I, like it to be more honest because the person who's at the bottom doesn't have access to wealth, opportunities. Maybe it is a good thing for them to go and build that. Then when spiritually they're aware of everything else, then they can have that conversation. Because to me, it feels like the same thing in America where affirmative action principles benefits more of the white women and the richer black population, including African immigrants, instead of the common black person that it was supposed to benefit. Yeah. So what's your thoughts on that, and how's your experience in Tanzania and South Africa?
Yeah, thank you for that question. Um, I think to your point, I definitely had a spiritual calling. So I recognize that that's not everyone's reason. That's not everyone's decision, and everybody is not going to make that shift. Poverty is definitely existent on the continent, like I've never seen it before, right? So I don't take away that experience from anybody. I also saw how hard it was for some of my brothers and sisters to like travel outside of the continent. Like they had to produce bank statements, like write essays, get interviewed at the embassies for why they were wanting to go. And I recognize that there's a very huge privilege that comes from traveling the continent as an American. And I think that that's just a foreign concept for so many African Americans. Like privilege, what? Like we have privilege, and so I personally felt like, why not extend that? Why not take the privilege that I'm being given to go and create impact on the continent? That's my reason for doing it, because that's my reason. That's not going to be everybody's reason. Racism is everywhere. White supremacy is everywhere. It doesn't just exist, in parts of the West and, South Africa. It's all over the continent. It just looks different when you go to different countries. But I think personally for me, and I can't speak for every YouTuber, every person who does make the decision to head to Africa, it for me felt like an assignment. And if I didn't do it, there would be repercussions. And now spending time back in the US, I'm just completely spiritually disconnected from the US. Like it just doesn't feel, it feels uncomfortable. It feels like it just feels wrong, having seen what I saw in Tanzania, in Ethiopia, and in South Africa. I loved Tanzania. It's a beautiful country. It's so vast. Everything is there, from minerals to vegetables to Kilimanjaro to the animals to the sea, the ocean. Is a beautiful country. I absolutely love it. I know that they're figuring out how to become a better place to do business. And, for me, that's my goal. I want to be able to create impacts wherever I am, whether that was in organizations here in the West, but now in Africa. And I also am sitting in on some of these conversations with, these venture capitalists and these real estate investors, Europeans, whites, Asians, and they're talking about Africa. And, why can't the people of that continent benefit from the opportunities that exist there? That's why I made the decision. I hope that answered your question, Dr. Casey.
Yeah, that was a very good question. I'll let the other brother ask a question first before I ask a second one.
Okay.
No, Yuku. Yuku, unmute yourself.
Hey,
Okay, yes. Yeah.
thank y'all for bringing this on. I put in the chat, my daughter was actually listening. We were driving home, and she has a question for Ashley.
Okay.
Hi, Miss Ashley.
Hi.
I have a question. Why did you come back to the U.S. if you knew that it wasn't necessarily the best place and that Africa was better?
Yeah, great question. Well, I have family here, and my girl's family is here, and I felt like they needed to see their family. And after, hoping that they would get some visits in that last year, we didn't. So that was my decision. That was the reason why I came back, was so that their family could love on them a little bit. And also, I thought that I wanted to set up an importing business here for the coffee that I was exporting out of Tanzania. And just as I was going through that process, I realized that I wanted to focus solely on Africa intercontinental trade in Africa. How old are you?
I'm 10 years old. My
10
name is
years
Yamanda Azramizan Onwukwe. I
Yes.
live in Maryland. Oh wait, my bad.
You about to give our address and all that.
Oh yeah, no, don't give us your address today. But thank you for asking that question. My oldest daughter is the same age as you. So
Okay. Well,
yeah,
thank you for answering my question.
of course. Thank you for asking. Thanks for connecting us, Dad.
No problem, no problem. Thank y'all for what y'all doing. Dynas, as always, thank you. You know, you're providing us some alternative media.
Yeah.
We need it. Y'all take it easy though.
Thank you. You too. Blessings.
Yeah. So I had a question about the business and sort of how to survive. Because obviously in most African countries, I don't know about South Africa that much, but at least in Tanzania and Ethiopia, I know that uh, doing business, the systems that don't function as consistent as maybe in the West. So I have a couple questions there. So
Yeah.
how do you go about setting up business transactions with people, building networks, and as well for the coffee one, for the future, that seems interesting because you could essentially integrate some kind of tech to the coffee.
Mhm.
You could let's say use NFTs. You could let's say the farmers of you do a deal with farmers. You don't pay them directly, depending on if they're able to sort of wait for the payment. So you process the coffee in terms of grams, and you do a deal with them so that every single time that coffee is sold, with the NFT will have a record, so they get like a share of each percentage. So even if it gets added value in the product line somewhere, until that coffee reaches the actual shop or drinking by someone, this basically will allow African farmers to be empowered at each step instead of being paid a certain low percentage. And then that could also, again, people like me would support something initiative like that. I'm sure many of our people across the world, not just our people, but people in general, it's sustainable, it's eco-friendly, people-friendly, and all that stuff. So yeah, so in I guess Tanzania, is it difficult to set up a shop? And what are sort of the challenges just doing business with locals in general compared to, I'll say, America or South Africa?
Yeah. So thank you for that explanation and that idea. I'm definitely trying to figure out how to integrate technology into this business model in several ways. And so it's a process for sure. It's not super easy to do business on the continent. It's absolutely not. Luckily, I had a great landlord who was Tanzanian. She was also living in the UK, and she manages several coffee shops in the UK. And that's totally separate to me going into the coffee business because I didn't know that until I actually told her I wanted to go into the business. But she connected me with a couple of friends and colleagues that she had in Tanzania that she felt that I could trust to go into business with. And so, unless you have a certain amount of capital, which is pretty large, for most people, like I think it's 300,000 US. You're gonna have to go into business with a local, and so I had to find a partner, somebody that I can trust. And there are ways to buy that person out, but ultimately, like you want to be able to have relationships with people in the country because you don't know everything. And I really had to humble myself to learn a new way of doing business, to understand, how women are viewed differently in certain places and spaces. So I actually did. I connected with a women's coffee collective. They're called the Women's Coffee Group. It's 30 female farmers. And they really scaled down their coffee business over the years because they weren't being paid. The government, has certain processes and ways in place that you have to go through this, especially for coffee, because it's such a high commodity product. They ended up scaling down their coffee business. They ended up scaling down their coffee business to be able to produce crops that they could sell and turn over quickly. And, I mean, so now the 30 women that I work with, even what they yield during harvest season is like not even a quarter of what some of the top coffee shops do in 1 month. So really creating a network of farmers is a process, really building that trust because so many farmers have been exploited, and adding value to their life outside of just money. Because what I've learned is Africans, they're really about community, and they can tell. Those are my kiddos in the background having fun, but they can tell like if you're just here to make money. And so it was more about impact for me when I started. It wasn't, I just wanted to create a brand, package their product that they could sell in Tanzanian coffee shops. And it's led to creating, it's okay, it's fine, go ahead. I know, it's just you. It's something that has grown since then. And I'm learning every day, learning every day. The infrastructure in South Africa is a little easier. It was a little easier to start a business still. I connected with a local. He led the process and, was able to keep me in the loop and showing me everything along the way. We were able to get bank accounts fairly easy. But again, I don't think that this is something that he does for diasporans or not even Black people. Like anybody coming to South Africa to do business, that's his industry. So I said a lot, but not an easy process, but worth going through if you're really committed to building in Africa.
Yeah, thank you very much, and I appreciate being here, Dynasty.
All right, I appreciate you, Dr. K. Simp. All right, Jose, go ahead, Jose, and then we'll take the last caller. Will be Tendaji. I'm surprised no women want to call. I'm surprised no women is calling in. I'm shocked.
I know.
No women.
Yeah, with that title, you would expect more. But actually, my question is for the greater part already answered. I wanted to answer if you had suppliers for your coffee and you're already rolling. In the private chat, I put a link to a group that I'm part of, and we also do coffee from Uganda, high quality coffee, and women play a big part in the production of it. So if you are interested, you can check the link in the private chat. The first one, and the second one, if you're in Tanzania, the coming years. Go take a safari in our safari resort, and the brother that was just in, Mr. Simp, you know what it is? I live in the Netherlands for 50 years, right? Since I was 2, and guys, Cape Verdeans from Portugal that come here in 5 years they have their own business. While I'm like, what? It's like it's us here are in a system where we're locked in our dome, right? And it's the same thing, vice versa. So I go to Senegal and I see a lot of opportunities that locals don't see. It's just that, it's when you're when you're somewhere new, you see things that locals don't see. It's just that. Okay, thank you, Dynast. Oh yeah, one thing, Dynast. Don't speak in third person about immigrants while they are in the panel. Just ask questions for the next time when immigrants when the subject immigrants is touched. Thank you.
Thank you, Jose. Thank you for joining. All right, Tendaji, go ahead.
Peace, Dynasty. Peace, Sister Ashley. I want to say to the brother K. Simp, the point to me about NFTs, that was powerful, and I haven't thought of it. Like the brother Jose said, my question was kind of answered while everyone else is speaking, but I do have a question for Sister Ashley after I touch on that. I wanted to say, as far as opportunity that brother K. Simp talked about, just like Jose just said, and Sister Ashley said, racism shows up in different ways. And so we all have our differences in the ways that we deal with it, in the way that the brother Jose just said, we can sometimes see things on the other side that we can't see it, in our own homes. I'm from New Orleans, and it's people from New Orleans, Louisiana. It's people leaving my city every day, but it's also people coming in. And I'm getting ready to move to Georgia next year. And Sister Ashley said, she getting out of there. Dinah's gonna get out of there. So we can, that's normal. People are gonna see opportunities in different places that others may not. It can work for all of us if we link up, just like Brother Jose just dropped, the coffee link and his safari in Tanzania. That's what this is about. And so the quick question that I had for Sister Ashley was, the different cities you visited in South Africa. Did you visit different cities?
I did. I visited 2 cities, well, 3. Johannesburg, Durban, and Pretoria.
Okay, and my question is only what stood out about, I think you chose Durban. What stood out about a particular city in which you're gonna plant your family and do business?
Yeah, well, Johannesburg is really just is the business hub. Like, it's kind of like a New York of some sorts, just like really where the business is done. Um, it's also just like where there's just a lot of convening and convergence around like finance and capital and like what's happening around the continent. Um, and it's also like driving distance to Pretoria, which is where the capital is. So you've got like the government, and in between Johannesburg and Pretoria, you've got like really all of these the big 4 accounting firms and a lot of Western corporations that are set up in Africa. And then I love Durban. Durban is beautiful. It's beachy, but it's just a little bit slower. And so for business reasons, that's why we're going to head to Johannesburg. Um, but yeah, Pretoria, I didn't love it. Like, there's a lot going on there. Johannesburg is where I felt like I saw Black Africans, Black South Africans doing very well for themselves. And I wanted to be in that type of community.
Okay. I'm gonna ask this question, then I'll go ahead and get off. In doing the research, I know you said that you were looking at the Constitution, and you said that you were able to start 1 or 2 businesses in South Africa, I believe. What are some things you saw that I'm guessing you seen that it might be a ease of doing business in South Africa? What are some things you saw you came across doing your research that made you see that for a foreigner it would be quite easy doing business, or wouldn't it? Would it be difficult, or what's something you came across that shows in the Constitution or otherwise that might be a hindrance or make it easier? Either way, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
mean, business isn't easy anywhere, so I don't want to make it seem like it's easy to do there versus like business is hard. So I'm still in it, and I'm in my first few years. So it's a process, but I will say South Africa is friendlier to foreigners, good or bad, right? Take that good or bad. A lot of the people in the past that have been doing business in South Africa have been foreigners. They've been Australian, European, French, okay. So they have open, more welcoming experience for foreigners to do that. Rarely has it been Black African, African American people coming and doing business there. But the policies are still the same. Yes, you can have an orange. They're still the same. So there is an advantage there. It's not hard to own land there. It's a process. Yes, it's not hard to start a business there. It is a process. And I'm still going through those processes and still learning. So as far as what's hard, I think a lot of people sometimes think that they can go start a business on the continent and like live in the US. A tourism business is different, like the way Dynas does his, tours, because he's hands-on. I think what he's building with One Africa Properties is super powerful, and it's a digital platform, so that can be run. But when you're working with people, manufacturing, goods, and services on the ground, you got to be there. So I'd say that's really the, not say biggest misconception, but I think some folks think that they can have businesses, and yes, you can do it. People do it, but I don't think they start businesses and go back to the States or go back to the UK after starting a business 5-6 months. Usually it's 5-6 years that they've had their business and they're going back and forth. I hope that was helpful.
That was helpful, very helpful. What we'll do, we'll go ahead and start closing
Okay.
out. Anything you'd like to share in closing? How can people get in contact with you?
Yeah, I just want to thank you again, Dinus, for having me on your platform, for all the work that you're doing in this space, educating and inspiring people of the diaspora to have tough conversations, but also to take action and build on the continent. You can follow my journey at Ashley in Africa on YouTube. Come say hello on Instagram. Yeah, I'm not really on Twitter like that, but I have an account. But really, where it's going down the most is here on YouTube at Ashley in Africa. You can come say hello on Instagram. And if you and your family are thinking about repatriating to the continent, or really even, I don't do tours, I don't do tourism, but specifically those with families that are 6 and 7 figure earning professionals or entrepreneurs, and you're looking to make that transition, I'd love to talk to you, love to work with you. All that contact information is available on my channel at Ashley in Africa. Thanks, Dinus, for having me.
No problem. Anytime you want to come on, just let me know.
Sure.
Everyone, thank you for joining. Like, share, subscribe. Until next time, family. Dinus Amir, good night. Enjoy your night, everyone. Peace.